Good morning. My name is Tyler Duncan, and today I will be talking about an ethics dilemma, an ethics problem. This is an age-old kind of situation involving an audit. Today I want to put you all in the shoes of Suzanne Stryker. She was a young accountant, just like many of us will be. I see a really great audience today. I see a lot of young people, so sometimes you're going to screw up, so it's okay. You learn, and it's a good thing. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the facts of this scenario, this young accountant and the problem that she faced. And then we're going to go and talk about the suggestions that her friends actually, tried to give her advice and help her out. And then we're going to analyze those suggestions and eventually come to a conclusion as to which is the best for Suzanne in this situation. So, first we're going to discuss the facts of this case. Now, Suzanne just entered this employment, and she was told to do an audit. In this audit, she was going to compare 60 portfolios, and she was going to have to take these loan portfolios and compare them with 15 different criteria. Now, this seems pretty difficult to do on the beginning, and she noticed that her time sounded to be a little bit difficult. There was only budgeted 40 hours, and already halfway through the week she knew she was going to have to work about 80. While at the same time she had her friend Will. This guy is a senior accountant, and he's going right, he's cruising right along, and he's got about 40 hours budgeted, and he's going to complete it. And she's thinking to herself, well, what's the problem with me? And so she goes to Will one day and she asks him, Will, what's the problem? And he says, Suzanne, the thing is, you have to understand that what we're doing really isn't that big of a deal. It's not material. We're going through these portfolios, and basically they just want us to make sure that the work papers are okay. You need to develop a risk assessment strategy. And Suzanne heard this, and she became a little surprised. It kind of sounded like maybe he just wanted her to do a little bit of sampling and not go through all of them in detail as she was instructed to do. So she had a dilemma. So now that we have the facts, we're going to talk about the suggestions. So we have suggestions from 4 of her colleagues. The first one is going to be from Andrew. And this is pretty interesting advice from Andrew. Andrew basically tells her, you should this senior guy, he knows what he's talking about, so you should probably switch your thinking to go towards a more risk assessment type of situation. And so that was his advice for her. The next advice came from, Boris. Boris told her, well, what you should do is just, work the 80 hours, but only bill for 40. And then you'll be okay, and, you won't have to deal with any issues. You might have to work a little bit longer, but, it's worth it. And then next we have Kathy, who gave some also very good advice. Said, you should just work 80 hours and bill the 80 hours. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make sense to us? I would think so, right? And then we're going to go to the last one, which is from Drew. Drew tells her, what you should do is just work the 40 hours, work the time that they want you to do, and then go up to them and ask them, what do I do now? I've already done all the time, so what's my situation right now? And so she has 4 interesting suggestions, right? So now we're going to analyze each of these suggestions and see maybe what is best for Suzanne to do, or any one of you or me in this situation. So if we talk about the first advice, Andrew, doesn't seem really like the ethical thing to do. You should follow instructions, especially when we're young and we don't have a lot of clout in the industry. And so we need to stick to what we're told to do and not branch out too much until we have our feet established. And so I didn't really think that was a very good advice. Now Boris, I think, gave great advice. Working the 80 hours, it's going to be a little bit extra work, but at the same time you're going to be ethical about it, and you're going to do whatever you're going to be able to please everyone, and you have a little bit extra work, good experience. So I really like that idea. Next, if we talk about Kathy also had a very, a good idea, but at the same time, is it right to bill 80 hours when it's budgeted for 40? Is that really the right thing to put, the partners in that kind of a situation? So I didn't really like that suggestion either. And the last one, was from Drew. And Drew's suggestion was to go ahead and just ask them the question like, well, what do I do now? And that doesn't seem like very planned out or thought oriented. So you might even lose your job because you didn't plan ahead and try and keep things budgeted as best you could. And so I don't think this is a very good suggestion either. So now we come to the conclusion, right? This is the meat of everything. What would you do? That's the real question. And if it were me, I'm more of a low risk kind of person, and so I would probably stick with Boris. And a lot of people might say, well, it's kind of unethical that you only bill 40 hours when you really have 80 hours of work. But I think it's okay because simply you're doing what your company expects of you and you're complying with the rules. And so in conclusion, I'm going to stick with what Boris has suggested, and work the 80 hours, and do the 40 hours billed. I think this is the best situation, and really it's a good thing for us to learn that when we're young we need to be ethical and also follow instructions, not try and manipulate the situation so that it's better on us. Sometimes we just need to take the punches and go along with it. So thank you very much for listening. This has been all, and I will now open it up for any questions. No questions? Thank you.